So we've been streaming live with no audio.
Hope so. Hello. It's the
Yo,
Twitchcast Town Hall number 4.
uh,
Christmas time.
we can just chat a minute as you kind of watch the chat feed from folks there to make sure that they can hear audio. And if you get anybody that's like, oh, you can't see JMac, can't see Zach or whatever. Obviously, like the biggest part of these is that we do these every, I don't know, not that often anymore, but when we do them, we put them on Twitch. It's not really meant to be specifically a live interactive show like it is when we do our webinars and everybody logs in and asks questions. It's more meant to be a session where we can share a lot of information, and then you record it as we're building at JMac, and then you upload it later to YouTube. And I feel like that's where most of these Twitch casts and town halls are consumed, is on YouTube, not on Twitch. So the folks that knew we were going live today, we announced it last week, and we're going to share a bunch of fun information about this year as it ends, and about next year coming up. And then we've got some cool details to release after this call that we'll post in the different groups about some programs that we're working on for next year. But I wish we had more time. That's always, I feel like the end of the year comes around. I just always feels like there's never enough time to get everything done that we want to get done. And I wish we had more time to do these sessions where we can record information, share information. I feel like the biggest problem we still have is communication between all of us together as centers and players and partners. And there's meetings that go on and there's decisions made that has taken a lot of effort to make, but then we don't always communicate those in a manner. But I don't have any regrets. I don't know about you, JMac, but I don't have any regrets, because if we don't push and go as quickly as we can, there's always an excuse to, well, let's plan this out and be really careful and release this in like 9 months. Well, we're in an industry where 9 months is not the luxury that we have of planning out and releasing something. So the nice thing is that we're small and we're agile, and we can release things and watch the data and take feedback and make changes. And that's a lot of what's happened with the launch of the SLG program that we'll share with, kind of at the end of this call. So let me pull up my notes here. Do you feel like everything's going okay? Nobody's shouting at you that they can't hear us?
I'm watching it on Twitch. It seems fine. But for Nerd Girl, I'm up in the upper right corner if you really need to see me. I'm very tiny today, but it's all about Zach, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, these for those that haven't seen one of these yet, poor JMac just gets left to be the cut me off if I'm rambling and ask a couple questions. And now and then we have an outline for these that we put together so that we have a somewhat of a script. But as everybody knows me, I forget what Georgina calls it. She's like riff. I think she says that I'm going to riff or something. She's like, I know you're just going to riff with it anyway.
Yeah,
I think that's what she
like
said.
it's just like her nice way of saying
Ramble.
The seat of our pants. Every
Wing
show
it.
that we do.
We're going to wing it. But that's why we're so real. So it's guidelines and an outline for me to speak about today, but it's also free form. So anyway, let's jump in since we've got audio and video and everything's working. Welcome everybody to the Town Hall number 4, end of the year 2019, beginning of the year 2020. It is insane to think about how old we are as you end a year like this, and you look at the fact that my store eBash here that I'm sitting in through the fish tank here, we're not open till noon today. It's about 10 in the morning. Has been open 15 years. So in 2004, December 10th, we opened eBash in Indiana here, and we just passed our 15-year anniversary. That is, I said this, it's like you multiply it by 10. It's like I feel 150 years old in this industry, with all of these folks starting up today and getting into the industry and thinking about having dedicated gaming space in their venues, or a business dedicated to gaming like we do here at eBash. Wow, has it been a crazy ride and an unbelievable circumstance. It's funny, but this is the weirdest tangent related example I'm ever going to give. But Janine and I are watching The Crown season 2. Okay, so I don't know if anybody's watched that. It's the coolest thing ever, because like
Already
the first okay, well, shut your mouth, no spoilers, and I'll try not to give any spoilers, but I just am using the overall example. So, Queen Elizabeth is, I don't even know. I don't want to offend anyone, but I feel like 90 or 95 or 100.
92, 93.
Yeah. So she's seen a lot and been through a lot and seen a lot in the world. And there's all kinds of things that have happened in her lifetime. And so the first series was all about her as a 20 or 30-year-old woman. And now in the second series, she's I'm going to just guess 40 to 50-year-old woman. Each week, the episodes, and I don't know factually how much they followed the exact happenings of what was going on at that time, but I do feel like that they try to maintain, the general idea of what was happening at that time. So as I watch these, I just keep thinking, man, like that, what has happened in the world, what's happened in those people's lives, the things that they've seen is easy for these writers and directors to go back and create a series about. Like every week there's an episode about something else that's happened. There's not a lot of need to create a fictional storyline around that series because there's so many things that happen. But it's not like stuff happens every day. It's like something that takes place over a year or two becomes one episode in a week. I feel like in the 15 years we've been doing this, we could have a season or two of crazy episodes, like things that have happened that are the most bizarre situations that we've been in that we could write some fun scripts around and go back and share. You remember when the Indianapolis Motor Speedway walked into our store and they're like, you guys have any racing simulators? Would you like to bring them out to the track? And, my typical answer is, yeah, we could do that. And then we didn't hear from them for like 2 months. And then 2 weeks before the Indianapolis 500 race, they came in and said, yeah, we'd like to order those things that you said you could build. So we scrambled to buy tents and build walls for the tent and build bases to mount racing seats on and find out what technology would run all this stuff in an offline mode in the middle of the grass infield of the Indianapolis 500 Motor Speedway. Like, that's one of the week's episodes, is that whole thing. But it ended up being a 5 or 6 year process that opened us up to do the Railroaders Convention of America event in Indianapolis that Fred and I rolled these things to and watched all these railroad guys drink beer and race at racing simulators. And, like we could literally have that kind of show from everything we've seen. So someday when we have more time, we'll go back and create a show, a Netflix special, a documentary that's loosely based on the facts, because we wouldn't have to create any kind of like ideas for each week. We'd have the idea and then we could just kind of massage some more. Like we would have to be represented by much more buff individuals that don't look like you and I do, right?
Be like Unsolved Mysteries. Like they just get these extra actors and spooky things. Like, this guy crawls across the floor when the store's closed and the alarm goes off and they find him asleep in the bathroom.
No. Did I tell you that guy is now my pest control person at my house? Like, no, I'm not even making this up. So like this guy comes in and he's spraying around our house for spiders and mice and stuff. And he starts talking with me. He's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I own eBash. He's like, no way. He's like, one time I was there as a younger kid and I got locked in the store when the employee closed for the night. The police came and tried to arrest me. And I'm like, wait, you were that guy? Like, again, that's episode 13, the night our employee locked a player in the store all night.
No, you didn't tell me that. Let's get down to business.
Yeah. All right, so let's get down to business.
Do a whole entertaining show just on that stuff.
And again, we're not making any of this up. It's all based on facts. It's all based on real world. So let me start this off by thanking everybody, obviously, that's a part of our network, thanking everybody that's been crucial to the development of this program over the years. I mean, this is, again, 15 years in the making for us. Where we're at today as a community, as an industry, dedicated gaming space, whether you look at esports as a competition, whether you look at gaming centers as a casual place to gather and play World of Warcraft, we are building something together. And I wanted to focus again on some of the reasons why we started ggCircuit and some of the things that I'll review and some of the things I'll talk about in the future all follow these guidelines. So, number one, we started this business in the very, very beginning to make money. Like that's at the core of this is we're not in this to be a charitable organization. We work hard and we work way harder than we all get paid for. Some people think ggCircuit, all of us make a ton of money. I mean, there's no secret behind the curtain. behind JMac right there in his basement is his furnace wall behind him. Like, that's not some fancy studio where we build a brick wall and JMac's sitting in the other room and I'm in a room right here. I mean, these are the real world situations that we're in, and we are all in this to make money based on these stores being profitable. That's where we're at. Like, that's what our software is all about. That's what our events are all about. In the end, if the stores don't make money, then none of this works. Like, none of us want to do this as a charitable cause. We're not doing anything life changing for folks. We do influence a lot of people, and we have a positive impact on a lot of players that come through our store, but we're not curing cancer. We're not providing, services for the underprivileged. Like, our business is to provide entertainment and access to events and charge money for those. So we have to make money. The second thing is that we realized early on, again, my store's been here 15 years. I went through a phase where we were building out stores in the eBash network to try to build up a network where we do things. We have to work together. ggCircuit started in 2008 just as a series where centers would PayPal money to one account, hold a tournament at their store on a Saturday, bring their top teams or players to Sunday's events, and the winners would then get that money PayPal to them on Sunday. That's all we were starting out doing, is working together as a group, and that still stands true today. Like, we have to work together. We cannot be in this to have our own interests and needs first above the interests of the group. Now, again, asterisk that with, we're not going to force everybody to decide whether they're going to sell burgers or pizza. We're not going to force everybody to charge a certain rate in the system, but the system and the group of all of us working together, it has to be interchangeable, and we have to be able to work together, or none of this works. Like, in order to make money, we have to work together. And the third piece is that we have to be automated. So as we started ggCircuit in 2008 as these events, we realized in 2012 we have to be automated, and that's why in 2013 and 14 we started to build software. So 15 years of having this store, 5 years now, ggCircuit has been open to the public. We started on eBash's 10-year anniversary. We started offering the coin system 5 years ago on December 10th of 2014. There were 12 centers. We could probably name the centers if we wanted to right now. A lot of them are still with us. Some of them, rest in peace, have moved on to greener pastures. But this is what we've been building all of these years, and that is the three themes that we've had through the whole time. And that's not changing. Nothing's changing. We want the centers to make money. We want the centers to work together, and we want the system and the centers to be as automated as possible. So, as we talked about in the history, here's what we've done over the years. We started building this coin system in 2014. We then began realizing that building a coin system on top of other management software was not going to open us up to the players and the automation that we were hoping. So we began to build ggLeap from the ground up. It's a cloud-based system. It's cutting edge. Nobody else out there is doing what we're doing today, nor were they doing what we were doing back then. Others have come along and started to put pieces together, but again, we're standing by what we're building, and we love what we're building, and we believe it is the future. We then began this past year to go back and say, okay, we've got ggCircuit started. We now have built ggLeap. Let's go back and figure out, how do we create an integrated, unified event system across our network? So not just the coins and things that are earned on a regular basis, but what else could be automated? What else could be regular occurrences inside of these stores? Can you come in and have badges and achievements? Can you have leaderboards going where the local winners win something? Can we go back to our original format of play through something in a week, and the top players from each store invited to the pro session the next week, and then they play matches all the next week to try to win something in the pro ladder or the pro leaderboard? That's what we've started building, and we're going to continue to focus on in 2020 from the event side. Now, let's just take a step back and review some very specific things for 2019. So in 2019, here's some secret insider data on our company that we don't share a lot with everybody, but I'm not afraid to share with. ggCircuit is a privately held company based in Indiana. We first started it in the UK, Chris and I. We then moved it to an Indiana-based company when we took on our first investment in 2018. So we took on our investment so we could develop faster instead of developing at the rate we sold. And then in 2019, the beginning of this year, we took on our second private round investment. So ggCircuit is still privately held. It's still owned by the original founders, and then our investment group. So we're not owned by any other company we work with. Everything else that we have out there has been um, private partnership deals that we've had with these companies. There's some crazy cool milestones we hit this year. So if you look back at the beginning of this year to today, we've doubled the number of centers that use our software. We've doubled the number of screens. We've added, like by the end of this month, it'll be pretty close, but we've added nearly 1 million new unique players in our network. So now we're closing in on 2 million. So we've almost doubled the number of active or of unique players in our network. And again, sharing some of the data, like for us, this is very important for everybody to know. We don't make a profit. We don't all make a ton of money in this thing, but we're very proud of the fact that we've tripled our revenue this year. So ggCircuit as a company only sold services and subscriptions before we took investment. We could only develop as fast as what we sold. Then we took on investment so we could develop at a consistent rate. And while we've done that, we've also tripled our revenue from 2018 to 2019. That not solitude, that foundation for us as a company makes us extremely attractive to our current investors and other investors to continue to support us, which I believe is important to share with everybody out there so they know about our company and that we're going to be around. Now, again, we have these discussions with bigger enterprise customers that question who we are and whether or not they should do business with us. So when we work with the big companies of the world, I don't go, I always talk about names. I'm not hiding them, but we're not going to go through the names of clients we work with now. But we work with really big companies who need to know, hey, are you guys okay, financially okay? And I'm happy to say that we're doing great financially. It's not our intention to make a profit. It's not our intention for all of us to make a bunch of money personally. Our intention is to build the network and build the system. And then once we have that built up, and solid, then we'll have whatever choices we want to make as a group. And as a group, I mean all of us together. My store here is the same as everybody else's stores out there. In the end, this store has got to make money. It's got to make a profit. All right, so let's hit some fun milestones that we did this year. So in 2019, we had some development milestones that were pretty exciting. And it seems like ages ago, like as I reviewed this list before the call, J-Mac, I thought, wasn't this 2018? But some of this stuff just happened in the last few months. We added our new user interface this year. So we call it the UI 2.0. But essentially, we took our old UI that was built in the very first version, 2016. We put a brand new skin in place for everybody at the beginning or first part of 2019. That interface, when we redid it, we made sure to redo it in a way that we're going to be able to do a lot of custom skins and other skins in 2020. We've already started doing that for some enterprise clients this year. So it's really fun for us to be able to have that built so that we can now provide more customizations for a lot of centers. And what you'll see next year is different options, 2, 3, 4 different options for the themes and for the skins in your center. We also had 3 new games we integrated this year. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but for JMac and I, the pain of waiting for new game integration was real. I mean, it was years between the first couple games we built support for and these 3. Because we took time off to build GG Leap, we didn't focus on the gaming side and on the player side for those years. This year, we added TFT, PUBG, and Apex, and we're very close to adding more this year. So if you look at these things, and this is what our company goals are, we'll talk about in a minute, but we have 6 games now. I'd like to have 12 at the end of 2020. So we went from 3 to 6. We now hope to go from 6 to 12 in 2020.
I would say Fortnite's part of that too. And I know we did a refresh on the web admin, and I'm pretty sure that was this year as well.
Yeah, there was a big refresh of the web admin this year. It'll be fun again when we do the documentary series to go back and grab screenshots of the progression through this. And I think it's helpful for everybody to know, like, a lot of times folks get caught up in the here and now and don't realize in where we've been, and the things we've accomplished up to this point. So, we don't want to ignore the here and now. We want to address everything here and now, but it's amazing when we look back and see where we were in January last year compared to where we're going to be January in 2020. We had a new product that we started development on and have into our Pioneer program this year called GG Rock. We're super excited about that. It's It really is, and we'll talk about this as we talk about development. But it really is amazing to see that we decided in our April gathering of all the ggCircuit staff, when we got everybody together in person, the key directors, and we made the decision to go full force on ggRock as our own product, built from the ground up again with brand new technology. It's great to see that now in use. eBash here's been running it for a month. We now have other sensors running it. Like, the feedback is crazy how fast it is and how well it performs. And we're excited to launch that obviously in 3 days, I think, no, 2 days. Centers will be able to join the Pioneer program and start testing that on January 6th moving forward. And then that should be ready to go to version 1 in the next 3 to 6 months for centers that want to wait after the Pioneer program and just license it, just like we license GG Elite. Again, ggRock is a boot system that will run your center, the entire center, off of one server. So you have no hard drives in any of your PCs. It just got implemented out at Esports Arena finally. They've ran GG Leap forever. They just implemented the Pixie Boot solution, and it's the IT folks are like, how did we run our store without this solution? How's it possible to run 110 stations, or folks with smaller PC counts, 20 stations? How's it possible to run that all 20 images as automated as you can make it? It's still maintaining 20 different PC images, and it's a pain in the booty. We tripled development staff this year, and I want to put that in perspective a little bit for everybody, because I was having a fun call this week with the CEO of another big development firm that we're working on some integration with, and I asked him. I said, as you guys grew, they've raised 60 million in funding, and they've built a really nice platform that there's a bunch of apps integrated with. And I said, can you really detail of when you were able to see that curve in development per developer increase again? And to give you an example, what I'm talking about, like, as our system was developed 5 years ago, there were 3 developers that wrote all the code. And so I'm gonna it was 1 to 1 at that point of development code being produced per developer producing the code. So, like, we just knew every week, every month, whatever, those 3 folks could develop as much as they could based on the hours that they sat at a keyboard. And after that, as we added more development in 2018 and again this year, and we've gotten to the point we're at now with about 19 or 20 development staff, I realized it's not 1 to 1. Like, when we went from 3 developers to 6 developers, we did not double our development capacity. Like, in fact, we probably only raised it by a factor of about 1.1 or 1.2, because these 3 people knew everything about every system and how to do everything. But long term, you can't have everything need to go through 1 or 2 or 3 people. So bringing the new folks in and getting them up to speed, but also then starting to segregate the different parts of the code and the different projects, so that there wasn't just one person needed to run all these different pieces. Like, everybody could kind of split off and do their own thing. We are probably now at, if we look at the original capacity of 1 to 1 with 3 developers, and now we have almost 20, I want to say we're at 1.5 or 2.0 efficiency to what we were back then. But this will definitely scale this year as we add more development staff, because what will happen is, right now we have development folks that are, we call them senior level. So a senior level developer for us is very intelligent, has got experience, has got basis in that system, has now built up knowledge of how everything works in our system, plus came into our company with a lot of knowledge that they added to the picture. Those folks now can bring in junior developers under them that will crank away at code in that little piece of the world, and it'll raise up our production numbers as far as development lines of code written, and the ability to launch more features, and even just go back and put features onto stuff we've already launched. So, for example, as we kind of start to look at our 2020 plans, I'll move into this section of our outline. We're planning on expanding development, but focusing those on specific projects and teams. So, for example, this is not an unknown fact. We have a lot of work we'd like to do as far as data analysis, reporting, integration with point of sales, API interfaces. We now have senior devs that all can do those things, but they're working on other parts and pieces of the project, and they can't come back and focus on that and dedicate time to that piece of what our company needs. So we're looking at hiring and bringing in folks that will do nothing but that. And it won't be build this for us and then move on to the next piece. It will be you folks in this department are in charge of interfaces for data, data reporting, statistical analysis, point of sale integration, creating those dashboards and charts and things that we all are like, man, I really wish I knew how many hours per player per month our center had. And I'd like to know what the overall industry average is to see how I compare to everybody else that's out there. Am I above average or below average? Where can I focus more time? How much am I charging per hour compared to everybody else in my region? Those sort of things. That it's not about private data or sharing your individual data. It's about being smart business folks and looking at trends and other like um, abilities to bring more revenue into our stores and things that we may or may not be missing as we run our operations. The other thing we're looking at doing, and again, if we move into 2020 development plans, I've kind of shifted here, but we're going to double down. Our main priority for development next year is going to double down on uptime and enhanced mode offline. And I know this is a sensitive subject for those that have had times where our AWS system goes offline and everybody like comes in with pitchforks and torches. And you're 100% justified in those situations. Like, it's obviously frustrating when you cannot run your store the same when things are offline as when they're online. That being said, the answer is not to go completely offline because, again, we have to make money, we have to work together, and we have to be automated. Like, we cannot go back and second guess the way we've designed the system in the beginning because we purposely designed it so that it was scalable and it would take advantage of the network as a whole and it would take a lot of the daily tasks off all of us so that we can develop things for the whole network at one time that are rolled out to everybody at once. However, we do, again, I want to take one or two devs and dedicate them to quality assurance, to uptime, and to building that product so that it's 100% uptime is not inconceivable for us with an enhanced offline mode that can run in the case that anything goes down on the online system. And so, can you do all the 100% of the things offline that you can do online? Absolutely not. Like, the system runs online, it needs to be online to function. However, what's the core functions that need to keep happening during a 30-minute glitch in your internet, during a hour outage on AWS or Azure as we look at multi-homing our system and co-locating it in different places around the world? There's a lot we can do, but there will always be something that could happen that's out of all of our control. That you need to be able to continue to run your basic core functions of your store, and anytime those things happen. One thing I can't help you with: if you lose electricity. If you lose electricity at your store, I'm afraid that there's nothing we can do at this point to keep you up and running because you always have to have electricity to keep your systems going. And there's very little you can do if your internet locally goes down because most of the games today don't run offline. Most of them have online servers. However, maybe you just want the folks to stick around and play, an old-fashioned LAN game while they wait on the internet to come up. You don't want them to walk out your door. So we want to focus a lot of stuff on that in development in 2020. We have, from a company standpoint, we have two new products that are going into development. Some of them have already started. So we have two new products coming out next year. Again, you can let your mind run crazy with what they are and where we might be going with them. But again, we wanted a player engagement system. We built ggCircuit. We're back to rebuilding that on top of our ggLeap. We have ggLeap, we have ggRock, and now we have two more things that we're working on for next year that we're excited about. And we also want to expand into other regions of the world. And I say more efficiently in my notes, but I mean, like, part of the knowledge and experience of what we do in the US has to be scaled or rationed in other regions of the world and in other countries. I mean, we have to figure out how to make this system as a group work worldwide, if at all possible. But there are some instances where different parts of the world just are economically and culturally different than what we do here in the United States. So we want to turn our attention to some of these other markets because it's great to launch these things in North America, and then bringing them to Europe is pretty easy because it's somewhat similar in Western Europe, especially to what the United States is. But it gets very different when we look at the Asia market, when we look at the Middle East, when we look at South America and Latin America. Those are very different markets. So we want to focus on those markets in 2020 as well. The last topic that we'll have here that I wanted to touch on is kind of a long one, but there's some other stuff that goes along with it. But other than being excited about all these other individual things, and again, back to our core three principles, which is we have to make money, we have to work together, we have to be automated, is I want to talk about the launch of the player Super League Prime program that we're super excited about. It's just going into North America at the end of 2019. I'm sure next year, as we review 2020, we'll look back on rolling this out in all the other regions and have a lot more hindsight at that point. But I'm really excited about it for a few different reasons. But I wanted to touch on a couple things on this call or on this town hall to make sure that everybody knows where we're going with this thing. So the three core principles we have to focus on have a lot to do with how we're building this Super League Prime program. Super League, everybody knows this, is our partners. They're a publicly traded company. There is no ownership between us. We don't own. I mean, I don't know if some of our people own stock in them. They're a publicly traded company, but as a company, we don't have any ownership of Super League. Super League as a company has no ownership of us. We just have a partnership agreement, a commercial agreement for an extended period of time where we're working with Super League to bring Super League's event system into the GG Leap network so that all of us have access to a international provider that will run regular scheduled events, leaderboards, badges and achievements and activities inside of our system so that internally to our stores, we don't have to have people focused and dedicated to those things. I have, after this is done, we have a document we're going to be sharing with everybody in the different groups that really details what this program is all about. I think it's 11 pages of text. JMac and I will be going back and adding some graphs and some other things to make some of it more understandable over the next couple of weeks. But it talks extensively about why we're doing what we're doing with Super League and the concept of the program and having everybody work together in a unified system. One thing that I want to touch on is that the currency that's in this is not intended to be seen as a cryptocurrency or any kind of of value that ever translates into anything for a dollar, for a currency in your local or a euro or a lira or anything. Like it's not meant to be something that players are like, oh my gosh, if I get a bunch of these, I can redeem it for cash. We will probably more than likely still keep running events for cash prizes with partners like Fortnite. So this last series with Fortnite we ran with Super League was $130,000 worth of cash prizes for players in the ggCircuit network. I mean, it worked great. A ton of players participated. It's ongoing. We're looking at starting it back up again with Epic next year. It'll be dedicated to a lot of these Monday night events. We love that format. It drives players to our centers on a non-busy night. There's so many good things about that. However, the new currency system's not meant to give this exchange system for cash. There's a lot of things that players value. There's a lot of things that centers value that can give value to this currency for all of us to use it. For example, a player in your stores value their time spent in your store, hours that they purchase. They value snacks and drinks in your store. They also value gaming gear and hardware. They value things like recognition and the ability to walk into their store and everybody knows, oh my gosh, that's the number one League of Legends player in this store. There's a lot of value that players have that we can give them through exchanging with this currency inside of our system that has nothing to do with cash. The beauty of that, this is the key point I want to take away from this, is by redeeming those things in your store, the cost of you giving that player that value is always less than the value the player gets. So the $4 or $5 the player pays you for the hour doesn't cost you $4 or $5 to deliver. If it does, you need to rechange your prices. Like we're all in this to make money. You need to sell your things more than they cost you, or else you're never going to make money. If you're selling a Coke for $1, I'm assuming it costs you 50 cents. Like you need to make a profit on those things you sell. So the player will get the value of $1 when they buy that Coke from you. That only costs you as a center 50 cents to deliver for them. So you actually gained a little bit in that system. Now you're holding on to this currency and you've built it up as a center. What are things that you could buy? There are things that GG Leap and ggCircuit provide that you could buy from us. There are things that Super League can provide for you as a center. It's not just about providing prizes to the players. There's things the centers can buy with those SPs inside of our network. It's not tchotchkes or goofy things that you're like, oh, it's like a pencil with the Super League Gaming logo on it. I mean, we're talking about, what if you need a batch of 10 Xbox controllers in your store and that's available for you to purchase through a partnership that Super League has set up because it's representing hundreds and hundreds of centers in the network and has the ability to go bulk buy those. And again, this applies up to them. So how much is a controller worth to you centers to put in your store? You go searching for it. You go find the best bulk deal you can find as a center, whatever that price is. Let's say it's $50 a controller for an Xbox controller. Chances are Super League can go find those and get those at $40 or $30. So they can provide those things for you at a value equal to what you would have to go pay for cash for those things that cost them less. And again, the system always works uphill because it's always the ability to sell that or provide that at a lesser cost because of the situation you're in, as buying those things in bulk or buying those things and marking them up in the cases of the stores as you look at your food and your drinks. So that system, as we implement it across the whole network this next year, it's very important for everybody to understand. We're working very hard to make that as clear and concise as possible. One thing we're going to change, and this is how we launched the program, and we're going back, and we think we made a mistake in this, and so we're going back to change this, is originally we went into this thinking everybody should get rewards. Everybody, like, you walk into a center and you should just all of a sudden start being a part of the prime system, of the advanced player system. However, that doesn't work because it creates two layers of players and two perceived values of that program. And the fact of the matter is that there's just some black and white answers, red pill, blue pill decisions for everybody to make. You're either a prime subscriber or you're not. It's not a negative choice in either way. Like, if you don't feel like there's value in the prime system as a player, you just don't subscribe and you don't earn SPs and you don't play in any tournaments. And there is no free version that makes sense for players and then a paid version that does something else. It's just a $7.99 membership. It's shared with the centers. The players get a ton of value back from it. Like, it makes sense how the whole system works for players and centers, but there is no gray area where you can kind of be on the fence and try to sell them. Like, you're either in or you're not. And the same thing works for loyalty systems within the centers. Like, you're either in the Super League system or you run your own internal system that's separate. You cannot have both of those things fluctuating through there. This example is shared in my document that I'm going to share everybody, but we have two of them now, but one of them specifically for the last 6 months, a big gaming company would like to bring their currency into our system. And as we evaluated that versus the Super League system, not anything local, but just those two systems together, we thought, well, could there be two wallets? Could there be two systems, like events for this provider and events for this provider where the people are learning? The problem is then how do all those translate then to the local prices? Like, now you've got all three different things have different values and different rates, and it just doesn't work. The only way this thing's work to be completely automated and to work for everybody so that there's everybody working together in the industry and to have everybody make money is one system needs to be in place. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm sure the Super League folks will watch this, Matt and Ann and some of the folks will be like, no, don't say this, but like, what if Super League is not the system that you want? What if you don't want the prime system? You have the greatest idea of your own system. There's no problem. Like, we have an enterprise version that you can run that's separate from the Super League system. You can run that. You're in charge of your reward system. You can create your own stuff. I think even the biggest companies we work with today all want to work with Super League. Just to be clear and open with everybody, there are big, national, humongous companies that still want to work with Super League in the system because they don't want to have to go out and create all of the events and activities that Super League is doing on their own. That's the real value of this system, and why we all should buy into this as being a part of a unified system. Is at my store, when I ran the store and I was the only person here, I would have weekly meetings. We would plan events. We would create graphics. We would talk about them to players. We would then set up and run the events, and we would take pictures and we would promote them to players, and we would gather all the money and put all the money together and then hand out prizes in cash and whatever. That's exhausting. It is not sustainable as individual centers. And I don't know what the total number of centers you would need in your own personal network to do this, but it's a lot. Like, I can tell you right now, it's a lot of centers in order that, before you could hire a full-time graphics person that does nothing but graphics for your events, and a full-time operations person that does nothing but operates the store, so that there can be a full-time event person and a full-time tournament organizer and tournament admin running everything, and a full-time social media director. Like, none of us in the short term or even medium term will be at that size where we can afford all of that stuff internally. But I can tell you right now, and these numbers are in my document, and I'll kind of wind down here. As eBash, I am making nearly half the revenue that I used to make when I did that stuff for my store full time. It was not sustainable. I could not duplicate it at multiple stores when eBash started other stores. I've always been able to do it here, as I was the one here really doing all of those tasks at one time. Most of you single business owners, you know this. Like, you live at the store, you eat, sleep, and breathe the store. And when you're there, you have your finger on the pulse, and you know everything that's going on, and you know how to direct that traffic around your store and the people and what incentivizes the players to come in. You cannot do that. And I've seen that happen to my store. My store here makes almost half the revenue that it did in the 2007 to 2010 range before I decided that in order to make this work, I had to back away from my local store and build this system for all of these centers to work together. That's the only way this is going to work. I know this from experience. I swear by it. Like, this is the direction we've decided to go, and this is the direction we're all in. And that's all we really want for 2020, is just, I really want everybody to feel like they're all in. And I apologize if people felt like they haven't had a voice in these things. We are going to build an advisory board in 2020 that's made up of center owners that are inside of our network. It will surprise some of you, even JMac and folks who we will invite to that board, that they'll think, why would you invite that center owner to the board? Because that center owner is bought in and is vocal, and they have a view that we may not see from our side, but we want to embrace that view and consider that view and make sure that we're thinking through a lot of these decisions that will affect all these centers in as democratic way as we can as possible. But I can tell you right now, like taxes and everything else, things are there for a reason, and things have to be done that we don't like. And we wish we could all live in our own utopia, in our own part of the world where we make all our own decisions all the time. But if we do that, we can't afford a transportation system. We can't afford to build our own electric power plant. Like, there are just concepts in the world today that we all need to realize apply to us in the game center world. Working together might not be the way you want to do this. This might be a little bit different than the way you'd want to do this, but working together in this, so that the goal for all of us is to make money, is better than trying to do these things by ourselves in a slightly different manner that we think is better than the way that it's being done by ggCircuit and Super League and any other partner we bring into the program in 2020. So I know that's a long session of me just kind of running through my outline, and I apologize for not doing more interaction with JMac, because they probably just want to hear us laugh and make fun of a lot of things. But the purpose of this is to create this. Here's where we've been. Here's where we're going. And I wanted to take the opportunity to make sure everybody knows the foundation of our company and the foundation of everything we build is based on those three big principles. JMac, can you think of anything that I've left out? Did I say anything wrong that you were like, ooh, that's the wrong thing, Zach? Don't promise them that. That's not what we're doing.
Not particularly, no.
The
Just
three
talking about,
principles?
like, yeah, we have to make money. That's the number one.
So the number one, we have to make money, have to work together, have to be automated.
And I don't want it to sound like a cult either, because people. That's the big gripe, is like, well, I started this business. This is my business. Why should I go under your umbrella? And I just want to reiterate, we're not trying to stifle that creativity. If you feel like you have the time to do that kind of stuff, and it's really just our experience speaking, that we want to offer these things, we think that they're positive, and without 90% of the centers participating in some form or fashion, this, I think everybody's, this is my opinion, but I mean, there's just this knee-jerk reaction of, this was way too fast. This was, implemented without any kind of thought. And that's really not true because we've been evaluating this stuff for years and years. And I think it's just like you need to give it a chance because it's going to mature into so much more than it is right now. And we're just getting started with it.
Yeah, the development process again is that we we have to get things and milestones out in a certain time period in order to keep everything moving forward. Now, if you're a giant company, I don't care how big you are, and you're doing software development, game development, pick whatever you want. There's going to be deadlines and things that force you to go at a certain rate that nobody's going to be happy with. The marketing team will never have enough time to market the thing. The support and technical team will never have enough time to create all the documents properly. The development team will never have enough time to get it all built and tested and through like 4,000 different sessions of quality assurance. There's never enough time to do all those things. So there's the extreme that you could never reach, which is enough time. There's also the extreme, which is way too fast. And I feel like people think we're in this, we're going too fast. We're closer to the going too fast than we are closer to the going too slow. And really, we're in the middle. Like, if everybody would know, like, anytime we get together and we time these things, we try to settle in the middle of this because we all know that in order to build this, we have to go at a certain rate of speed because again, we have to make money. Like, I cannot continue to wait. Like eBash here, I didn't abandon it, but I walked away from managing this store. I'm not even in this office more than once a week right now. I'm either traveling or I work from my home office because I'm so busy with the bigger picture ggCircuit items that I know are good for everything. I just, back of my mind, I'm like, it will help eBash in the end. I I can't wait forever. My partners here at eBash are different than my partners at ggCircuit. Like, we cannot wait forever for this system to be put into place to make sure that we've tested every scenario before we roll it out. If anybody knows, I our center here we throw under the bus. Like, GG Rock here has been running about 2.5, 3 months, and it doesn't work. It didn't work good at the very beginning. Like, the only way to really test a product is to put it in a live environment. You can test it all you want, but it has to go into a live environment, not for bug fixes and a lot of those things. Those are things that we can watch out for, and we do a pretty good job of chasing those things down. But the perception of it and the testing of it and the players, usage of that thing are things that you can't really test like without somewhere like eBash that first tests it. And then we roll it out to 20 other centers and we find out what their opinion of it is, and their players tested and their owners tested it, and then we roll it out to a bigger group. We never know which phase of this that we roll out that we hit a brick wall and we're like, oh, this is the one thing we didn't think about back here in one of these other testing groups. But for some reason, we get to that stage and the centers are like, you never test this, you never do anything with it, you just roll things out without thinking. That's absolutely not true. Like, we've rolled these things out in stages and we've not hit that threshold or ran into that issue with a certain type of player or center until we reached one of those milestones. And there's not really any way to test that. We have a test environment for all of our technology that stress tests every bit of our code as we roll it out. But until you roll stuff out live, you never know how players are going to do something. Like, the biggest thing I would point to is like the Fortnite Manic Mondays. Like, we had a Fortnite formula that ran for months that was just fine, and we put a prize in there, and all of a sudden players started playing Fortnite a different way because they're like, all of a sudden there's a prize for being the top 10 in this, not just casually playing, but playing for a purpose. So for a week, they all played a different way than we were expecting, and we tweaked the formula to address that problem. Well, then guess what they did the next week? They tried a different method to try to get in the top 10 that was like unprecedented. It wasn't a normal way of playing the game that we hadn't thought about. After 3 or 4 or 5 weeks of that, we've now have a formula and a rank system and something that keeps people from smurfing and playing against bots only and treating bots versus human kills different. Like, the only way of doing that was putting a prize out there and having all these players play a certain way. And the crazy part is that they play differently even in different areas of the world. Like, we would get to North America and players would play normal for these leaderboards, and players played abnormally in other regions of the world. Like, and I don't know why that is. And now, we have that data. We go back and analyze it and be like, oh, I know why that is, because people in this part of the world don't really own their own accounts. Like they don't spend a lot of V-Bucks and have all their own skins, so they're just used to making new accounts in Fortnite all the time. So they stumbled upon a way of gaining a lot of points in this way by having Smurf accounts. So anyway, wrapping this thing up, I appreciate everybody's time. We appreciate everybody in the system. I want to make that as clear as possible. Whether you're vocal, negative, or positive or not, like we do listen, we do read all of those things, we do take into consideration all those things. Please don't feel like your voice is not heard. Please don't take it out on the poor support people that are just trying to keep up with the demand of centers in our network and the core functions of keeping everybody up and running when we introduce new event systems and everybody's not up to speed in the network yet. So give us a little bit of a pass. Be a little bit patient with us as we roll these things out. I don't think anybody can say that any other company out there is as aggressive in rolling out new features and responding to new features and fixing bugs and addressing things as fast as we are. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think from the numbers of players and centers growing in our network, it's pretty obvious that we are the leaders and we care about our people. We answer the phone. We have chat people available all the time. Our services team flies all over the world to help people in person. There's nobody else doing those things for our industry like we're doing. And man, am I excited. Like 2020, as weird as it sounds, I think is going to be a massive breakout year for our industry with what's going on in high schools and colleges and independent businesses and enterprise companies that are now rolling out centers all over the world. I think it's going to be a crazy good year for all of us that have a center or will start a center this year. I think now's the time to be in the dedicated gaming space. I appreciate everybody in our company especially that works so hard all year. Hopefully everybody over the next few days will be able to take some time off with their families, enjoy the holidays. Remember that, again, we're lucky, all of us. Every one of us are lucky that are in this business. It is a super fun business to be in. It's a growing, expanding business. It's exciting. We're not doing anything boring. I don't think anybody could ever say they're bored in this business. Every day that we get up, whether it's tackling good or bad issues, it's fun to get up and get out of bed and go to work. For me, at least, I feel like it is for most all the ggCircuit folks. And I feel like all the center owners out there and managers, I feel like it should be the same for everybody. Have fun with what we're doing. Let's have fun together in 2020, making money, working together, and being automated.
Sweet. So we'll have the document out soon, probably in all the different channels. Do you have like last minute edits or anything like that, or is it ready to be shared?
No, I think because again, we're just going to share a link to view the Google Doc, and it'll be under construction as we add things to it. Like we want to add some graphs and some visuals that explain some of the sections a little more. So, and some of the stuff like we have notes in there, so we'll probably have it ready. It's 11:02 Eastern time. We'll have it ready for everybody by high noon today. So 58 minutes, it'll be available.
All right, and then we'll throw this video out on YouTube as well. So we'll see you next time in 2020.
Happy New Year.